Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Today we want to introduce ourselves first. My name is Lukias Taputra and my friend Mega Astuti. And today we want to explain about an error analysis of thesis entitled Using Sustained Silent Reading Strategy Towards Students' Reading Comprehension on Descriptive Text and the first semester of the 8th grade of MTS Muhammadiyah Bandar Lampung in academic year 2019 and 2020. And it will be explained by myself first. What is the definition of error? Definition of error is various definitions of error have been presented by experts. Basically, those definitions contain the same meaning while the difference lies on only on the ways they formulate them. These definitions are adequate to reveal the errors showing up the written text. And the third is classification of error analysis. And first is linguistic category taxonomy. Linguistic category taxonomy. Dulay explain linguistic category taxonomy, classify error according to either or both the language component, include phonology, pronunciation, syntax, and morphology, grammar, semantics and lexicon, meaning and vocabulary, and discourse style. Second is surface strategies taxonomy. The surface strategy taxonomy is classification system based on the ways in which the learner's erroneous version is different from the presumed target version. It highlights the ways the surface structures deviate. And the third is comparative taxonomy. The classification of errors in comparative taxonomy is based on comparison between structures of second language errors and certain other types of constructions. And the last is communicative effect taxonomy. This type taxonomy classifies error based on the perspective of their effect on the listener or reader. And the next will be Mega Astuti to explain. Mega Astuti, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Luki. Error and mistake. Error in term is different between the mistake. The utterance and reconstructed version in error analysis purpose for kinds, omission, addition, misinformation, and misordering. Carden, 1973. Next slide, please. Type of error. The first is omission. Dulay states that omission is characterized by the absence of an item that must appear in a well-formed utterance. Although any morpheme or word in a sentence is a potential candidate for omission, some type of morphemes are omitted more than others. In other words, an utterance of a sentence is said to exhibit omission error if it omits any necessary item used in well-formed sentence of utterance. Although any morpheme or word is in a sentence is a potential. And the second is addition. Addition errors are the opposite of omission. This error is characterized by the presence of an item which must not appear in a well-formed utterance. It usually occurs in the later stage of second language acquisition when the learners has already acquired some target language rules. The third is misinformation. Misinformation errors are characterized by the use of the wrong form of the morpheme or structure, while in omission errors, the item is not supplied at all. In misinformation errors, the learner supplies something, although it is incorrect. There are three types of misinformation error. The first, regulation errors, and the second, RC forms, and the last is alternating form. Fourth is misordering. These errors are characterized by the incorrect placement of morpheme or group of morpheme in an utterance. For instance, look at this sentence below. I didn't know why was she said. It should be I didn't know why she was said because the placement to be was is wrong. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the analysis of errors in the Devita Firdani thesis. The first is identification of error. It means that people can use many ways to increase their ability in reading. Types of error is misordering, because the sentence has awkward phrasing in unnecessary words and it can force the reader to work harder to understand. And the reconstruction, it means that people can use many ways to increase their reading ability. Number two is in identification of error. In reading comprehension, the readers should be able to understand the material on text that they read. Types of error is omission, because the noun phrase text seems to be missing a determiner before it. Consider adding an article. And reconstruction, in reading comprehension, the reader should be able to understand the material on the text that they read. Number three is this can happen because the strategies used by the teachers in teaching reading tend to be monotone and not appropriate to teaching reading comprehension. Types of error is omission, because the noun phrase text seems to be missing auxiliary verb before it. Consider an auxiliary verb. And reconstruction is this can be happen because the strategies used by the teachers in teaching reading tend to be monotone. Number four is if they like with the material they read, the student more easily to get the meaning and information from the text. Types of error is misinformation, because in that sentence, the selection of marker of one member of a class of forms to represent other in the class is not correct. And reconstruction, if they like with the material that they read, the student more easily to get the meaning and information from the text. Number five, the teacher only gives instruction to students to read the text, and then students answer comprehension questions that have been provided in the book. Types of error is omission, because in that sentence there are so many noun phrase text seems to be missing article before it. Consider adding an article. And reconstruction is the teacher only gives instruction to the students to read the text, And then students answer the comprehension question that have been provided in the book. Okay, I think enough for my explanation. Back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mega, for your explain. I will continue on the explanation. Identification of error types. Identification of error. Number 7, to give students motivation and make their interesting in learning English, especially in reading comprehension on descriptive text. Type is misformation arc terms. Explanation, because in that the sentence, the selection of marker of one member of a class of forms to represent other in the class is not correct. Reconstruction, to give students and make them interesting in learning English, especially in reading comprehension on descriptive text. Number 8, but the researcher only focus on descriptive text because the researcher want to know the student's ability. The type is omission, and explanation is because the word focus has no meaning. It would be better that we add prefix strip s in the last word. And a reconstruction, when researcher only focus descriptive text because the researcher wants to know the student's ability. And number 9 is in reading comprehension, the readers should be able to understand the material on text that they read. The type is misformation archetypes, because in that sentence, the selection of marker of one member of a class of forms to represent other in the class is not correct. And the reconstruction is in reading comprehension, the reader should be able to understand the material on text that they read. Number 10, based on the explanation, the researcher conclude that descriptive text has two generic structure, which are identification, the object, and description, to describe the characteristic, parts, and qualities of the object. The type is misformations, because it is pronoun problem. A pronoun is a word that is used as substitute for another noun or noun phrase. They come in a few different forms depending on what they refer to, how they're used in a sentence. Reconstruction. Based on the explanation, the researcher conclude that descriptive text has two generic structure that are identification to introduction, the object, and description to describe characteristic, parts, and qualities to the objects. Okay, that's our explanation. Um, if there are some questions, to let me know. I think there's no questions. Maybe maybe I will close. We will close this presentation. Before we close the presentation, let's say Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim.
Bil alamin. Okay, thank you guys for attention. In the end, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.